Our Seawatts project aimed to determine which was the best natural fertilizer that would be readily available as waste products within our own households. As such, we've determined three waste products that could be used: banana peels, tea leaves, and eggshells. Banana peels are a great source of potassium for the plants, tea leaves a source of nitrogen, and eggshells a source of calcium. Our main objective in this study is to determine the effect of banana peels, tea leaves, and eggshell fertilizers on Solanum melanogaena or eggplants. Furthermore, we've also decided to compare the differences in growth of the plants to determine which one of these fertilizers is the most effective. Our initial hypothesis is that the fertilizer would have a positive effect on the plants, and the mixture of all fertilizers being the best one. Our main materials for the setup involved 100 grams of each fertilizer, a fertilizer mix, 14 eggplant seedlings, and 5 small areas of land to plant in, mortar and pestle, soil, water, and sunlight. To prepare the materials for the banana peel fertilizer, we gathered waste banana peels amounting to 100 grams. Then we sun-dried the banana peels for around a week and cut them up into small strips once they were dried. To prepare the materials for the eggshell fertilizer, we first gathered waste eggshells amounting to 100 grams and crushed them using a mortar and pestle until a finely ground texture is produced. As for the tea leaves, we first gathered the waste tea leaves, also amounting to 100 grams, sun-dried the tea leaves for around 3 days, and crushed them to a fine powder once dried. We also mixed a small amount of each fertilizer together at around 100 grams to see its effect. Once we had all the fertilizers ready, we started using them for our eggplants. The individual setups consisted of soil surrounded by a tire. In each tire were 3 eggplant seedlings, except for the fifth setup, which only had 2 plants, and it was a controlled setup. We tried our best to make sure all controlled variables were the same: sunlight, water, and air, but there were some environmental factors that may have affected the results. Once we had planted the seedlings, we added an equal amount of fertilizer to the plants. We watered the plants once every day considering the very hot conditions recently, and observed the plants for 2 weeks. Compared to the control setup, most of the setups yielded favorable results. As predicted, the mixture of all fertilizers yielded the best results as it grew the most and had the most leaves. Second, the tea leaves, which grew the second most and had the second most leaves compared to the first week. Third was the eggshell fertilizer, which grew the third most and had the third most leaves, but unfortunately, due to environmental factors, the banana peel fertilizer setup dried and died. We believed that the fertilizer mix grew the most since it had the mixture of all 3 nutrient-rich fertilizers. Nitrogen-rich, calcium-rich, and potassium-rich fertilizers all tend to work well with eggplants. Nitrogen-rich and calcium-rich fertilizers, however, are still great to be applied on their own. To summarize, our fertilizer experiment was a success as we were able to determine the best type of fertilizer that we could obtain from common household waste items. It was deemed to be a mixture of tea leaves, eggshells, and banana peels. These waste items are not merely waste, but valuable resources that can be used for planting and gardening. To further improve results, it must be noted that a shaded area preventing exposure to direct sunlight, regular watering, and meshes or leaves to protect from the environment are ideal. Clearly, waste can be reused for something positive as well.